out.
Did I recruit it to the rally from here?
So good afternoon and welcome to the Grand Rapids Community College Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, November 20, 2023. Do any board members or you, President Lepper, have any guests in the audience that you would like to
I have a guest. So I have my guest, my son, Kamal Brahim, is here today visiting us. He is a senior at St. Stephen's School in Austin, Texas. You guys know he's down there playing for an MLS junior team, but he's coming back home to go to Ohio State Michigan game this weekend and spend Thanksgiving with us. But more importantly, have a good time at University of Michigan this weekend.
Welcome.
Your dad wouldn't say this, but we'll say this on behalf of your dad and one of the best high school soccer players in the country. And we're not exaggerating. Some of us are even tempted to get your autograph afterwards. But we're gonna hold off, okay? Anyone else? All right, then the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. As you know, trustees, if this is the time to move anything from the consent agenda for additional consideration if you wish to do that. Any changes to the agenda that was sent? A motion then to approve the agenda?
So move.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have two opportunities for public comment at these meetings. The first opportunity is to anyone in our audience who wants to address the board on any matter that is on our agenda. If there is anyone who wishes to do that, if they would just step forward to the podium, introduce himself. I see no one moving, so we're going to assume that we're going to move on, which we will. I'd like to invite Lisa Freiberger to the podium. Lisa, you're going to be up here for a little while. You've got like three things in a row here. The first of which is a property tax resolution that we have to approve annually. So I'm going to turn it over to you for your explanation.
Thank you and good afternoon. Before you is the property tax resolution, as you mentioned, that we bring to you annually at this time. This allows us to collect all of our property taxes, or 99% of our property taxes, in a summer property tax levy rather than splitting them between summer and winter. We have done this for a very long time, helps to manage our cash flow. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Well, let's go ahead and I'll accept a motion to approve the property tax resolution.
So moved.
There's support for that. There's support. Any more conversation? All in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. I'll turn it over back to you, Lisa. Fall mid-year budget review and some adjustments that we are privileged to make.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. This is unusual for us to be bringing you a budget amendment in November. We are doing so because we have good revenue news to share and some priority expenditure items that we would like your consideration of as we move forward. We will, just a matter of overall process, be bringing to you what we would call a standard budget amendment for your consideration in February, as we do annually. That will be an additional and perhaps more comprehensive review of full salary reconciliation, benefit reconciliation. We will have winter enrollment at that point. So we will, as we have in prior years, be bringing that to you in February. And then just to finish that going forward, March will be standard tuition recommendation. So we will begin talking about that leading up into the 24-25 budget conversation. But we are excited to be able to bring to you for your consideration the proposed budget update in November. Now, when we flip to, go ahead one more. Thank you. I should have tucked the thing. Revenue is really what brings us here. We have an increase to share in enrollment, property taxes, and state aid. So our three primary revenue sources. With enrollment, we are, from a billing unit perspective, up approximately 2.8, 2.9%, which is very good news for us from an enrollment standpoint. We are very pleased to be able to bring that to you. This budget amendment as it stands does not include an adjustment for winter of 24. And as we are early in the process, but as we are starting to look at those numbers, those look to be trending right now in the same positive direction. So we're excited about that as well, and more to come on that. But this is simply fall of '23 as well as the second half of summer that we have just finished, incorporated now. Property taxes are also up. When we brought to you the original budget amendment back in May, for your consideration and adoption in June, we anticipated a 4.5% property tax increase. We are up 6.5%, which is a significant increase for us. There is nothing to say right now that trend is going to continue at that high level moving into the next budget year, but nothing to say that we're looking at any declines either. So we're very happy with that. And then finally, our state aid, we estimated 4%, and we are at 5% state aid increase this year. So all told, all three revenue sources, you can see the dollar amounts there, are up. With that, we didn't consider many budget increases last spring because we weren't certain where enrollment in particular was going to land. So we'd like to, with the next slide, bring to you considerations for several ongoing, and you'll see several salary positions here, that were brought to our attention as needs during the budget cycle last year and that we really just put on hold. So this is the chart here of general fund additions that are ongoing. We have several other one-time requests that you'll see in upcoming slides, but these are all continual requests. The first number of them are related to positions. You can see them listed there. An athletics assistant director, as we have continued to increase sports teams and number of our student athletes, particularly with soccer. That workload has increased significantly. We have a support professional in our CAS mechanical design area that is currently serving 4 different programmatic areas. With the increase in apprenticeships, particularly in those areas, that is becoming unmanageable. We have a position related to some of our WEGI grant programs that are running out of our ODEI office, specifically ALAS and Brother to Brother, that we need to shore up over the next 2 years. So you'll see the note there. This is a 2-year position we're requesting authorization for. IT security and cybersecurity continues to grow as an area that we need continual monitoring and attention to, requesting an increase in a staff person in that area. We are also looking at campus police and specifically Clery reporting, which is also continuing to grow as an area of appropriate reporting and compliance, looking to move what is currently a uniformed officer doing that work and create a more of an administrative position because that work has continued to expand, and then allow us to replace the uniform officer that will be out and supporting our students. We have some reorganization moving in our ODEI office. The net of that is the establishment of a Woodrick Center specifically focused on the student ODEI needs. We have positions open in that area now intentionally, so the increase that you'll see that we're requesting here is to fund the director of Woodrick Center, as well as a new support position, or a new APSS position to support that director. Finally, you'll see 3 ongoing expenses there that are not necessarily salary. One related to a number of different recruiting events on campus that we just continue to grow as our enrollment team is out doing recruiting across the area in high schools and at other organizations and events. We did some reorganization in our preschool. That's a net addition. And then we are adding an advisor position. However, we, as you may remember, brought to you a new advisor scale. We have a number of openings. That is a net number as we reduce those to the new pay scale and add 1 position. That was a lot. I'm going to pause for just a minute.
So maybe we pause just for a moment. This is our second opportunity now as trustees to take a look at this. Maybe the second time has stimulated questions that weren't stimulated the first time we went through that. Anyone questions for Lisa for clarification?
I would like to know, from Lisa and/or Dr. Lepper, what do we attribute this beautiful 2.9% increase in billing units to? Like if you,
From an enrollment standpoint, I think a couple things are happening. One is, I think, the ongoing support for Michigan Reconnect. I think we've seen an increase in numbers of students who participated in the Grand Rapids Promise. We also saw a 10% increase in the number of our returning students over the previous fall. And then we also saw an increase also in our Hispanic Latino population, our Black African American student population, in addition to smaller growth and new students, which could fall into any one of those categories I mentioned. But I think this is also the result of a lot of work that's happening with strategic enrollment management from, I won't say just from our student affairs or admissions team, because it's really work that's happening across the college that involves faculty and staff.
Thanks, Ken. Anyone else?
A question. I think it's great that Alas and Brother to Brother are potentially waiting on the vote here to potentially getting more resources. Would the increase fill the gap in terms of need, or would it help address and simply add more support to that area? So in other words, is it just adding to, or is it filling the complete need that is needed there?
I don't know that it fills the complete need, and I don't know that we have a good tool to assess that right now. I think this adjusts some of the responsibilities that have been assigned to that area in the past. And so I think that it does provide more support directly to the students, because historically we have not had a director that has been focused on the Woodrick Center. That was a shared position between the Chief Diversity Officer role. So this also has more of a direct impact on that office, if you will, in its entirety, that there will be a dedicated director that will be helping to lead some of the strategic initiatives there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Move on.
Okay. So the next slide will show some of the general, or all of the general fund additions that are one-time. I am happy to answer questions of any of those. We'll highlight perhaps a couple. As we have talked, we are moving through a comprehensive meet and confer compensation study to make sure that we are compensating our meet and confer folks appropriately within market and benchmark institutions. We look at that every time we go through a negotiation process with all of our other groups. We have not done so with meet and confer in at least 10 or 11 years. Financial aid consultant, as you are aware, the FAFSA is completely changing, and we will need a lot of programming change as well as training and support changes within our financial aid team and systems to make sure that we are fully compliant and ready to bring that up online.
Have they released that yet? Last time we talked, it hadn't been released.
No, so actually we just saw today that the Department of Education said it's going to be ready on December 31st, that it will be open on December 31st, and no one has seen it yet. So hopefully between now and December 31st, we will get that opportunity.
But the goal is to make it more streamlined and easier for students and parents to
That
use,
is the
correct?
that is the intention.
We'll see, right? So, all right.
That's the hope.
Yes. The last item, I will also highlight the transfer, and you'll see that come through in the actual budget document itself as a transfer to our auxiliary fund. We are coming up upon the time where our printer copiers across the institution are going to need to be replaced. So we are looking to transfer that allocation to the auxiliary fund so that we can begin to cascade those replacements over the next several years. For general fund, you'll see the summary there. With all of that, we will right now, from a budget standpoint, have revenue over expense of $1.3 million, bringing our total net assets up to 25.5. And we have several additional one-time requests or one-time additions in primarily our plant fund, although the last one on there, the Raider card machine replacements, come out of our bookstore fund. The top $960,000 increase we are incorporating in here, that is something you typically see in February. We have summer project work. In particular, this is related to the Sneeden restroom renovation and our College Park Plaza exterior envelope tuck pointing projects, where we'll budget for the entire project, so you see the full dollar amount, in this case, in the prior fiscal year, but the project runs over the summer. So this is the cost that was paid for in the fiscal year that we're standing in. You've already approved the entire project. We're just transferring it from one year to the next. We are looking at implementing a full camera system upgrade. That is an estimated value. Our initial expenditure request will be for something less than that. I believe that's on your purchasing agenda this afternoon, but we will look at how many cameras that gets us as we continue to work with the vendor that we have just recently, with your approval, looking to engage with. So we've not gone too far down that road as to how many actual camera placements that we will have. So that's why you'll see that dollar amount versus what's on your purchasing agenda.
So is that mainly expansion or replacement?
Both. We have cameras, exterior cameras on campus now. Many of them are purchased with a Homeland Security grant from a number of years ago. They aren't as integrated as we would like them to be. And so we are looking at, are there any of those that we can keep? But primarily looking at a full camera system that is integrated across, exterior, that is integrated across the campus. You'll see the other items there. Chiller replacement, HVAC unit, we actually have 4 that are on our facilities list to be replaced. This would do one of them. And then finally, our radar card machines that produce all of the radar cards that we have or that all of our students have are also nearing end of life. And they will need to be replaced. You'll see that expenditure coming through our bookstore auxiliary fund. So that is what is included in the budget amendment that we are bringing to you. The actual line by line is included in the documentation that you received as part of your packet. I would, of course, be happy to answer any questions that you might have from either the PowerPoint or that document. As we're looking ahead towards the February amendment and then into 24-25, clearly we are continuing to monitor enrollment. As I mentioned, we are looking that at this point in time trending up for winter as well, which is great news. MIPSers and the Office of Retirement Services is continuing to push adjustments, revenue and expense through to us, and then looking at moving that, again, revenue to us, expenditure back to MIPSers. I expect we'll see an adjustment in February related to that exchange. Interest rates environment right now, as you may be seeing as well, continues to be favorable. I would anticipate that the February amendment will bring an increase in interest income as part of that document. It's not included here. And then you'll see the last bullet, which we're most excited about. When we drafted this PowerPoint, the decision was still outstanding for our capital outlay project, and we now know that that's been approved. So very happy to be sharing that with you all. And we will, as soon as the budget supplemental is signed, get moving and bring to you a recommendation for an RFP for an architect, and then shortly thereafter a construction manager to start to move that project forward. That is all that I have. Would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Lisa, it's a lot more fun to have us sit and have you ask us for a mid-year budget adjustment because we have additional revenue.
Yes.
Than it would be if we, in fact, were looking at a reduction in revenue. So this is about as fun as it gets in November when it comes to budget stuff for us here. Questions yet before we move forward? Again, we've had an opportunity to look at all of this already.
Well, so I wasn't there, and the response or the question that Trustee Kathleen asked was related to the composition of the increase. I think the number was 2.9 or whatever, and we talked about Michigan Reconnect and GR Promise, and I may have that phrase wrong, the Latinx population and the Black African population in terms of the numbers increasing. Mm-hmm. And so my question is really related to the notes in terms of hosting additional events related to recruitment and the presence at the Woodwork Center. And so my wondering really goes to the retention. Those numbers are great, hikes, and we often hear how we increase enrollment and other things, and I'm wondering, maybe at a future meeting, if we could talk about how those increases also impacted the retention of those particular groups. And I'm also cognizant that not everybody's here to complete a certificate or a credential. Perhaps it's exposure or something else, but the retention and/or how those increases in positions are used to assist folks in accomplishing the goal, the reason why they stepped onto campus. That's what I'm curious about, not expecting you to answer, but I'm curious about that.
So we can absolutely bring data. I don't have retention data at my fingertips to share, certainly, but would be happy to bring that back or work with somebody to do so. And then I would say that a number of the positions that we've talked about, and particularly that were requests as we went through the budget process last spring, are directly related to student retention. Woodrick Center, the WEGI position, specifically come to mind initially, but yes.
Cool, thanks.
So, well, I was just going to say the intention with more of the focus on the Woodrick Center is to turn that more into student success and support. And so that is the intention of those additions, is to create that sense of belonging, but also to focus on student success and help close any gaps that we may have in terms of retention and completion.
Thank you.
Good. Awesome. Okay, then I will accept a motion to approve the fall mid-year budget as has been presented.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
There's support. Or any more conversation around that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose that same sign. That does carry. Lisa, I'm going to ask you to stay right where you are there and give us a finance and facility update.
And actually, I'm going to ask Jim Van Dockenberg to join me. And we have it's been a long time since we have provided you with a more comprehensive facilities update. And as we are moving into two now significant major renovation projects with the natatorium and the LRC, we thought it appropriate to bring you up to speed on where we are with the projects that have most recently concluded. So I am going to step away and allow Jim to take it from here.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Chair Cucci, President Lepper, trustees, Ms. McClure, and all of you. It's an honor, privilege to be here to share some looking back accomplishments and achievements that were realized on recent past projects. Some of these you may have heard about and others not, but after all, we don't get to enjoy, occupy, and utilize the spaces until they're completed, obviously. So maybe some of these will be new and informative for you. Prior to that, I need to get a plug-in for the facilities department real quick. As you'll see, there's almost 100 of us providing a variety of services on a quite large physical plant. And next slide, we are committed and on a mission to maintain physical environments that are conducive to the learning process, because quality facilities do enrich the lives of our students. And we do this with staff members who are committed and contribute to the growth of the college and the college community. We're happy to do that work. So these are just some high-level achievements. These are not all of the players, but just want to review. Some of them are LEED certified. As you know, leadership in energy and environmental design is LEED. It's a green building rating system that's accepted internationally, among others, and it provides for healthy, efficient, and cost-saving buildings. So, as I said, there's going to be some things from USGBC, also the American Institute of Architects, and others. So, without further ado, I'd like to spin through those real quick. I see some of you in that picture there. Custer Alumni House was USGBC LEED certified. It is. And it also won the Outstanding Preservation Project by a group last year with the Historic Preservation Commission. It was coupled with the next project, which we can go to the next slide, and I attended that event in May. At Ender Hall, that is LEED Gold certified, which happened to be the highest achieving higher ed project in 2022. And so we got a certified green building award from USGBC. I attended that with others from the college last December. The city of Grand Rapids, of course, we could go back, class, sorry, is the one that was coupled with Ender Hall. And then also Historic Preservation Award from American School University and Learning by Design. The thing about these places, the big story was about historic preservation, but also the way that we invested in the Heritage Hill campus and reached out to the community, and they welcomed us back, both with our partnership with them and being members of Heritage Hill, and also that award. So that was really nice. Next slide, please. At the ATC, that will be LEED Silver certified. We're just aiming for those last couple of points to go from certified to LEED Silver. And I just will remind us all, there's a green roof on that building too, as there is on most of the ATC. I think RJF Hall will be LEED certified. And breathing new life into a 100-year-old classroom building has really benefited the institution. Just a couple more. The Lakeshore campus, the American Institute of Architects gave it a commendation in their national magazine in May. It also is LEED certified and won outstanding interiors, again, from American School and University. This too is about adaptive reuse and meeting a community where they're at and making a commitment. They're not in our district, as we know, but making a long-term commitment to that community nearby and their students. And lastly, the Secchia Piazza, again, a bunch of achievements. Chuck mentioned last year or last month that it made the magazine of CAM magazine, the cover, and it also was a finalist for ABC Excellence for glazing, and we won that too. Of course, with the light cone and the floor-to-ceiling windows, daylighting, and excellent views of downtown, it's no wonder. And there are some other accolades there too. So again, I'm happy to bring this to you in the fun month of November, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions if you have any.
Comments or
Curious,
questions? Go on, sorry.
as we work through these various projects, especially these historic sites, like, are we starting with this goal of, hey, we're trying to get to silver, we're trying to just be certified, or is it sort of as the project goes? It just feels like renovation of a historic site is different than when you know right from scratch what you're starting with, you're building something new. I'm curious how that process goes.
Regarding LEED, we target LEED Silver or above for all of our significant projects. And we have a pretty good track record of achieving that. With Ender Hall, we overachieved and got gold. There are a few other green building certifications. One of them is called Green Globes. That one is accepted by the federal government, so we are thinking seriously of trying that one on an upcoming project, whether it's at the pool or the Learning Center or one in the future. Regarding historic preservation, there are at least 3 lumber baron homes up there, and they all were in different states of wellness and whether they could be conserved. So we absolutely conserve anything of quality that we can, just because that's important to us. But in other projects, a lot of the interior might already have been chopped up or changed or made into apartments. So it is sort of case by case.
Anyone else?
Is there some sort of remuneration for LEED certification?
No. LEED certification does come with certain fees, both to USGBC as well as to vendors like architects and construction managers to manage that process. However, the life cycle costs typically go down because we're more thoughtful and deliberate about selecting systems, total cost of ownership, and they operate more efficiently. So we feel over the life cycle that we save money.
Anyone else? Well, Jim, on behalf of this board, we express our thanks to you and your team of 90-plus men and women who take remarkable care of these downtown facilities. It's incredibly impressive to sit and just flip from one slide to the next, to the next, to the next, and know that that has all taken place in the last 6 years, 5 years. Very impressive. So thanks for
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
And I do not have anything else unless there are questions on October financial
Sure.
statements.
Anyone? Hearing none, thank you very much, Lisa. We have one more monitoring report that we're privileged to pay attention to today, and that's our supplier diversity report. I'd like to invite Paula Gleason-Zief to the podium to present that to us. Paul.
Good afternoon to all of you, and I'm happy to be here to run over the numbers for 22-23, and possibly move forward. I want to share a few things with you. We've changed a few of our standard reports to show you, but I first want to say that we're real happy to show a 14.22% diverse supplier base right now. That is up from last year of 12.9. So that is a good thing. Last year when I came to the trustees, we talked about how could we see more than just one type of diverse supplier for someone, such as a woman-owned veterans company. We've been able to handle that in purchasing. However, just so everyone knows, we don't want to double dip the numbers in the spend. So we do pick whatever is the first thing that they put on their form when they send it to us. So if they say they're women-owned and then veterans, even though we're picking up the veterans, we're picking the numbers in the woman-owned piece. So we'll continue to look if there is a way for us to report that differently. We had a spend this year of $24.5 million, which is down from last year. Again, that has probably some to do with, even though Jim just shared some beautiful construction jobs that we did not have as many as we normally did in years past as last year. We will see that number go up next year because we do, as Lisa said, have a couple of projects that are coming up that we'll be using construction for. I will say that we were happy to include another area of diverse suppliers. That would be our veterans. I know we talked about that last year, that we'd really like to see that number. And actually, it's a really large number, surprising when we started taking a look at it. It's almost 4.7% of our vendor base. And you'll see that in that first total spend number. And then if you look at the spend less construction, it basically falls in there with a little bit of it falling in our construction. Hopefully we can get that piece moved up next year when we're dealing with new vendors. Jim and I hopefully can work on some of that. Next slide. This next slide is going to show us year over year for where we fall with all of our different diverse bases. And as you can see, this year we've also put in the veterans, which is that purple piece. Again, you see a little decline in our spend over the last 3 years. That has to do with construction. As we build back up in the construction area, that number for spend should go up. Next slide. Review here for you just so that you have an idea of what we went through during 22-23. Happy again to say that we were at 1422, which is up a little over 2% from last year, with our spend being that 24.5 million. We also achieved 19.13% by adding in the City of Grand Rapids program and our veterans, which that's a nice percent to say that we're almost at 20% of our diverse vendor base. Like to see more, but at least that's a good place to start. I know that I did look at some other areas in the state of Michigan, and people are hovering around 7 to 10%, so that 19 is very nice to see. I will say that both our main areas, our minority business owned and our women owned, both those dollars went down this year. However, again, I think that had a lot to do with that our overall spend went down. So that does not surprise me or give me any concern for us going forward. Next slide. These are the groups you see every year, but we did add a new group, Builders Exchange. We're working now with them. We were happy to participate. Jim participated with both Melissa Davis and I at a event that we had at the Tech Center. So that was a really good one to add. We are working more with the Chamber. Melissa Davis and I attended just recently here an event with the Chamber, hoping to get more suppliers that we can work with. And then we do a lot with the West Michigan Public Purchasing Alliance. I am the treasurer of that group, and we continue to grow that group and add more colleges, not just the cities. So this is a slide that you've seen in the past. I kind of wanted to just have it up here to show you year over year. And if you look at the bottom, you can see where we've gone from 11.72 to 12.9 to 14.22. That is just our two major bases of women-owned and minority-owned. But you can see that we are increasing that every year. Next slide. On this slide, this is basically the numbers that pertain to the slide that I had at the beginning with the 3 circle charts. That is giving you the total spend and our breakout of general money versus contract money.
So as you classify these groups, are these self-certifications or do they have to meet some sort of
No,
standard?
if they report to us, there are some organizations that they must see your certificate, but if they report to us that they have 51% owned by women, we will take that as part of our vendor base. So I just wanted to touch base with last year where we were when I came and I talked with you. We kind of had some objectives that we wanted to achieve, and we did pretty good. We reestablished our committee, which is really nice. We had a meeting, sat down, what are we going to try to achieve this year? We've added a few areas that we thought would be good to participate. Again, we added some new groups that we're being involved with. I'm real happy to get involved with the Grand Rapids Chamber. They have a new person on staff that is trying to promote more of the minority organizations here in Grand Rapids, so that is really nice. And then again, we said we were going to track our veterans spend, and we did that. Things that we want to look at for this year that we're currently in and even beyond, we want to work with our Tier 1 suppliers in construction to see what we can do to put together more Tier 2 suppliers that they use. That might be where we work with an E&A and sit down and say, are you going to have an open house? Maybe can we help you do that here right on campus to bring those suppliers in and see what we can do. I send out from a purchasing area to all of our list of not companies, but councils that we're involved in, letting them know, hey, we have this RFP. Do you have anybody that might be interested? Please shoot it out to them and let them know how we can help. I know, Jim, you talks to quite a few people, trying to get them to move along so that they can participate. I think that is one area we could grow from where we're at now, that tier 2 supplier base could be larger than what it is. We also want to review, we're able to do this now with our system, we want to review how many people are submitting to RFPs but didn't receive the bid, and how can we help them next time so that we're adding them into our base. That's something that our software now allows us to do, and I think that's something that's really good for us to take a look at. I think that we're missing something there by not going back to them and helping them grow so that they can come and bid on something else that they'll get awarded. And then lastly, we'd like to take our diverse supplier numbers that we have and look at our diverse community suppliers here in Grand Rapids, Kent County, and see how that compares and how we can improve on that. I think that that's important, that we're considered a community college, so our community base of suppliers should look like our community. So at that, I am going to thank you for letting me give you this information and ask if there's any questions.
Anyone, wonderings, comments, questions?
On that second to last bullet, I think I'm very happy to see that. That's a great step in this journey. I'm on another board to do something similar. One of the things that they do is that they may facilitate smaller organizations working with larger organizations. There's a lot to learn in that process, and also identifying some resources. Once you identified why they weren't able to get the award, help them identify resources that perhaps the next year would allow them to get it. So those are two things that, if you get added on to this as part of the process, I think it might make it more successful.
And I think that that's really good. We do debriefing with anyone that asks, but we don't reach out. And I think that by getting this report, we'll be able to reach out to them and say, let's talk about, was it the way you wrote your proposal? Was it that you needed X, Y, or Z? I think it's important. They're never going to know how to grow if we don't help with that.
And the winning proposals are always public documents, correct?
Say that one more
Are the
time?
winning proposals public documents?
Yes.
So it might be helpful to maybe show that to them so they can see what the winner looks like, and then maybe next time they can build it around that.
No, good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that bullet stood out to me as well, of this working to increase the pipeline, and then for those who aren't successful, following up and doing all the things you just said. And then the next thought I had was, and then we were talking about retention for students, like are we retaining those vendors as well? Into sort of that tracking sort of pipeline. All right, how do we support in that time to get to win more? And then also, are we retaining those vendors?
It's a good idea. I think that we have to, I'm happy that we now have a system that at least tells us, oh, look, here is 10 people that were diverse that, either A, didn't bid, so we can contact them and say, was there a reason why you didn't bid? Or 2, they bid and they didn't receive the proposal. So, yeah, all good information. Thank you.
One more thing to add, you maybe think about this, is actually having GRCC on your resume and winning that helps you get additional business.
That's right.
So this might be the step to allow an organization to grow larger.
Yes, exactly. That's very true. It's very true.
So you're saying it may be the difference between how someone is classified in terms of maybe that tier 1, tier 2? So after getting it, I'll ask you later. But, what I was thinking about is even when people are applying, being able to have some of those exemplar models right there on that site, it does seem helpful. I didn't want to interrupt your flow of thought.
sorry.
No, I didn't want to interrupt your flow of thought. And so now I'm wondering if this abbreviation is accurate or not, but I thought you said ENA.
No, A and E, sorry, a little
A
dyslexic
and
there. Yeah, a
E.
little dyslexic,
A and,
I'm turning to Jim. Jim. And, thank you, Lisa.
say it one more time. Architect?
And engineering.
Oh, okay, gotcha, thank you.
Or engineering and architect, if you ask me.
Whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
whichever way. Got you. Okay, thank you.
And I will say that Lisa and I have talked as we move along. It would be nice on our purchasing website for our suppliers to be able to see this, at least this first page of documentation to say this is how we work.
One question, in terms of the majority group, do you have the data of the retention of vendors from the majority group? So for instance, have we been working with a vendor that's part of the majority group for
We have
more than
not
3
tracked
years?
that, but it might be something that we can look into to see if there is a way to track that. I can tell you when we attend an event, who we have talked to, but I have not taken it to the next step to say, okay, of those, who have we retained to do business with?
That would be one suggestion, in addition to what we're doing for the minority vendors, if we could also do that for the majority, just so that we can get the full picture as well.
The better picture we can get, the better we're gonna be,
Right.
so.
Anyone else?
I'm interested, when you said that ideally that the suppliers ought to reflect the community, does that mean that each minority group percentage ought to be each benchmarked to their percentage in the community, or there's some sort of an amalgam of
I think that we're going to need to decide that as we move along in that process. I do know that some colleges and universities, they track it all the way down to percentages, depending, is this all women? What is the community of women-owned businesses? But we may say that we want to just do it as a lump sum to see how we are with the community. And then we also have to look at, what does the lake shore look like? You know, that's a whole different piece. So there is, seeing that this is just something that we're just starting to talk about, there is some, leeway of how we're going to track this.
Okay, Paula, thank you so much for the
Welcome.
report. We look forward a year from now to get
I will be back.
another update as we continue down this road and this journey. Moving along on our agenda, we have opportunity for a few reports. We do have Alex Miranda, President of the Student Government Foundation, with us this afternoon for a student report. By the way, welcome. Take a deep breath, relax. We're a very safe, comfortable group to talk to.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's great to see you all again, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here again. For anyone who isn't familiar with who I am, my name is Alex Miranda. I'm the Student Government President at GRCC, and I'm here to provide an update on what my team and I have accomplished and are accomplishing during the academic year. Our first update is, I briefly mentioned this before, but we went to a student government conference in Washington, D.C. last month. My Vice President, Michael Zazzo, and I, we went to Washington, D.C., and we made a lot of valuable connections and learned from other student governments around the nation on how we can improve ourselves. The idea of implementing a voting procedure for the student government positions came up, and as well as adding new positions such as a secretary to receive more assistance also came up. And we hopefully want to implement these changes for the next academic year. Our second update is student government is a part of the natatorium steering committee. Victoria Genowiak has invited us to be a part of the bi-weekly meetings regarding the renovation in the Ford Fieldhouse. We're bringing the student perspective to these meetings, specifically what students want to see this space used as. Some ideas came up, such as an improved free weight room and a Zen den that a lot of students wanted want to see that space used as long as many more ideas. Our third update is student government is also part of the scoring team for a learning management system project. The IT asset and project manager, Jeff Vanderveen, invited us to be a part of the conversation in which we explore the functionality of GRCC's learning management system, Blackboard, and how we can improve the overall experience. Student government's next town hall will host Jeff Vanderveen and Amanda Cruzona to focus on this project and gain input directly from students. And our fourth update is student government is involved in the statewide initiative named the Hunger-Free Campus Act. Students from Michigan State University approached student government to be supporters in this initiative. They're pushing forward that would create the Hunger-Free Campus program. This program would be intended to aid students who lack basic needs while attending a public institution of higher education and aid in connecting college students with applicable resources to address their basic needs by establishing a grant program. This program would include GRCC. This bill was introduced to the Michigan legislature last month by Representative Jen Hill and is also sponsored by our Representative Carol Glanville. Our last and fifth update is student government is looking at the campus activities fee and is researching the possibility of developing a proposal to increase the fee. As part of our efforts to increase involvement on campus by providing activities and hosting events, student government is in early conversations with Student Life and the Student Success Center to review the campus activities fee that each student pays into. We're taking the rest of the year and early next year to research and gain input in order to potentially have a proposal to present to the board in March. And those are all of my updates for now.
Comment or questions, wonderings?
Do you know what the current fee amount is?
Yeah, for part-time students, right now, part-time students pay $5 into that fee, and full-time students pay $10.
Alex, great work. Thanks for everything that you're doing. In terms of the responses from the students, you mentioned that you were able to get some responses in regard to the Ford Field. Did you get the number of responses that you wanted to as a group, or did you see an overwhelming response, or not quite as much?
Yeah, we've implemented this conversation into our town halls, our bi-weekly town halls, and I would say we received a good and diverse amount of responses. A lot of students are very excited about the project in general. A lot of students really want an improved weight room. There's a lot of ambitious ideas as well, such as a rock climbing wall. A rock climbing wall, a Zen den, a meditation room. Just students are active and ambitious and excited about this project in general. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, yeah. Moving along, I'm going to take the opportunity during board chair report to just recognize that trustees, this is our last meeting that we have in calendar year 2023. And we have board officers whose terms expire in the end of December. Our next regular meeting isn't until February. That suggests without us doing anything, we will be officerless the month of January and until we go to our next meeting. So I would accept a motion that we extend the current terms of our current officers until our first meeting in calendar year 2024.
So moved.
Is there support for that?
Support.
Questions? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion does carry, which then now leads me, Dr. Lepper, to your report.
Great, thank you. The first item that I wanted to make sure folks were aware of, Lisa had alluded to this earlier, is that we were successful in getting added into the state's supplemental budget this month, and that would include $16.8 million for our renovation to the Learning Resource Center. So we will be moving forward with that project. We have our half of that project already in hand, and so what happens from this point forward is that we'll receive $100 basically from the state for planning, and then we anticipate that we'll be able to start that project sometime during 2025, most likely the summer. But that was a great opportunity, or is a great opportunity for us to update our facilities and provide 21st century support to our students for success. And we're very, very happy that that happened. That was took a lot of work and a lot of convincing from many people in this room and many people outside this room. And so that's something we're very proud to be able to move forward with. The second item that I will share is that we had an opportunity to submit our medical assisting program, which is an apprenticeship-based program, to the Bellwether College Consortium for consideration for an innovation award in workforce development. We learned Wednesday of last week that we are among 10 finalists in the nation for that award. And so a small group of us will be traveling to Texas in February to participate in some conversations and some additional presentation work on what we do with our medical assistant apprenticeship program. So more to come on that, but still something to be very, very proud of from a student perspective and from an innovation perspective. And the last thing I'll mention is that our women's volleyball team, our volleyball team, did participate in the national tournament. So we lost in the first round and lost in the second round, and so we are still waiting, I believe, our final placement in the national outcomes, but still something for our team to participate and play in a national tournament is something that we should be very, very proud of and are very, very proud of. And it was a tremendous, wonderful experience for our student athletes to do that as well too. So want to make sure we recognize them and for their accomplishment in addition to an amazing season.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Let's move on our agenda. Consent items. I'll accept a motion to approve the consent items that were in our agenda.
Motion moved.
Thank you. Support for that? Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We also had at least one purchase request for over $100,000 that I noted. Motion to approve the purchase request for $100,000 plus. Thank you. Support for that? Support. Question on that? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That leads us then to our final opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone in our audience who wishes to address the board on any matter that relates to the college, they are invited to do that at this time. Seeing no one coming forward, I'll ask trustees if there are any final comments around this table before we adjourn. Anyone?
I have a comment. I want to share and commend this board and this college president, President Lepper's commitment to community engagement. And I have just a short story about how our commitment to community engagement could impact public policy. Because talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. We have lots of scholarship opportunities in our state, both state and federal and local. We have Grand Rapids Promise, we have the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, we have Pell Grants, we have our own great GRCC Foundation and its scholarships. Unfortunately, a lot of this money goes unclaimed every year because members of our community don't know that these scholarships exist for several reasons. And they also don't know that the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA form, is the key to unlock these scholarships. There is a movement in Lansing to create a universal FAFSA form fill-out requirement in all of our high schools statewide, with the idea that this will help everybody access the scholarship money that's available to them. And this is a legislative priority of President Lepper, GRCC, and also the Michigan Community College Association. So we had an opportunity to testify on Senate Bill 463 last month regarding a universal FAFSA requirement. And basically it would require the state to provide information about scholarships statewide to all high school seniors and information about filling out the FAFSA and how that is the key to unlock many of these scholarships and grants. It would also have many waiver provisions in it. The point of this is that this board has been talking for about 12 24 months about being out in the community more, engaging with the community. President Lepper heard that as soon as he joined us about a year ago and said, let's schedule these. Let's go out into the community. In October, we were at the Hispanic Center of West Michigan, and we engaged with a number of people who came. It was wonderful that they came out, that they trusted us, that they wanted to engage with the trustees and President Lepper and the staff who were there. Among the concerns that they raised with us were that we don't know, we're not getting information about these scholarships, we need to understand more, and what's this FAFSA? We talked about the FAFSA and heard from a number of people in the room, we'd like to have some cultural support and some support for limited English proficiency students in filling out the FAFSA. I had the opportunity and the privilege to testify on Senate Bill 463 in Lansing and mentioned that feedback that we got back from the West Michigan community. And I have here Senate Bill 463, which was passed from committee. It was also passed by our State House. And they amended the bill to add a few provisions, including requiring high schools to take reasonable steps to provide equal language access to students and families. So that is one of the functions of this board. It is one of the functions of this institution to bring concerns of the community and to help break down barriers to access. And so I commend this board and President Lepper, and thank you.
Anyone else?
Really quickly, I don't remember who I shared this with. I thought it was only one individual, and I just want to make sure I'm publicly thanking, I think there were over a dozen women from GRCC who poured into over 200 6th through 12th grade girls at an event called Grade School to Grad School. And so they spent the whole day interacting with them, talking about the steps of flourishing and going to college. And there were even a handful of students representing student leaders from GRCC, and 2 of the individuals were from GRCC's Black Student Union. And even from the Black Student Union, they were talking about just how they're flourishing and how they also have created a space for people to come in and better understand Black culture. And so from the participants that were in the grade school to grad school to Alex and what he's doing in terms of honoring student voice, just want to say kudos to the staff and the students that participated. It was a beautiful day. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Hearing none, have a blessed Thanksgiving, happy holiday, and this board will be back in its regular session in calendar year 2020. This meeting is adjourned.